surplus webbing, very inexpensive, readily available. You can build up quite a good kit with it. So welcome to bexbugoutsurvivor, I'm Bex, and today we are looking at my own personal webbing, and I use this for a bug out. Some of the heavier elements I have would be in my webbing, and then the actual shelter itself and spare clothing is going to be housed in my Bergen. I've decided how I want to run my Bergen, with water on one side, food resource in the other side of the rocket pocket, the shelter in the main body along with the spare clothing. That still leaves quite a lot of the equipment that hasn't been regarded. That's what we're going to have a look at. Some of the heavier equipment and how I personally carry it for a bug out situation. We're going to have a look at all the pouches, the yoke, how much you can build one of these up for. Really good quality as well. Now Osprey make the pouches and always have done. Virtus has taken over that contract. If the name Osprey is familiar to you, it's because they'll make civilian backpacks as well. I have one myself, a nice one. It used to look very different, just with 2 double ammo pouches on the end and then full of utility pouches. This here is a utility pouch. All the pouches here have been sourced from places like carboots, flea markets, things like that. And I bet you I haven't paid more than £1 or £2, maybe £3 at the most for a pouch. And then if I find a yoke and the belt, I'll just get it. End of the year, once I think I have enough, I build one up. But it's more convenient for me now to have this rig here. Going to start from left to right. Webbing is a great way to take a lot of weight out of your Bergen. The lads in the forces have been using webbing to carry some of the heavier kit for years. You spread the heavier stuff onto webbing. It's just a belt with pouches and shoulder suspenders to hold it all up, and in Britain here we call that a yoke. You suspend a belt. In the States you'll know it as a suspender belt. We're going to start with this one on the left, which is the medi pouch or the trauma kit. Most are on QR clips. Opens out here into different compartments, and in this compartment here on Velcro, vinyl gloves and cleansing wipes. Now I've put this here on the front. It's the first pouch I get to. It should be the first pouch I use before even going for the dressing or the burns or anything, is to sterilise my hands. And in this top pocket here is divided into 2 sections, 1 and 2. The back section is larger than the others. I've put a really basic trauma pack in mine, first aid. This one over here, quite interesting. Now, always take advantage of these little side pockets. For instance, I just have a spare ferro rod and striker on mine. Jesus, that throws some spark. And you get the picture. A torch, a spare knife, a fire kit, just spares that ordinarily you would need a pouch for. This is locked off. what I need to do, if I put my finger in there, it all comes undone. Put that over. Let's come to this section here. One is set back here and the other is set forward. This longer one, and put that one in first. This shorter one here fits in behind it and locks it into place like that. This is not the big GSR bag that a lot of people recognise. However, this is a lot smaller. I've not seen this configuration of pouch before. This is especially for webbing, and I just house my S10 respirator in there, and also somewhere in here I should have a spare canister filter and my Avon S10 respirator. So when would I be likely to use something like that? A forest fire. Most of the time we are going to be out in woodland and forests in a bug out situation. Smoke is going to be the killer, not the fire. If we can navigate safely to a position away from the fire, we would certainly have a respirator on. Okay, next to that is my E-tool housing. The E-tool is E for entrenchment, handle, the shaft, and a locking mechanism here. Now I have a nicer E-tool. This tends to wobble and come loose on me, and I don't like this. If you find a pouch like this and you don't want to put a heavy E-tool in it, you can house it for a water bottle. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to use something similar to this. Just as an example, I do carry seed. I would have to grow my own crops, an ability to dig and to generate my own source of food. This is a double utility and a single. Each have a drain hole in the bottom there. This one here contains a basher, and I'll show you how I can get a basher and all this to fit into here on one of the quick tips episodes, but we all know what a basher looks like. This is my immediate access shelter. It can be used like a bivvy folded in half. It'll double up as a ground protector. I have all the cordage for it I could possibly need. This is the DPM, and a big part of the reason why I have it on the webbing and not in the pack, if I become separated from my Bergen, at least I have a shelter if nothing else. There you go, that houses your whole shelter kit there. Hunting, fishing, trapping. A simple catapult like this, the ammunition for it would be free. Squirrels, rabbit and fish when I can find them. Use whatever source of ready access for fire you want. Vaseline cotton wool balls would be great. Make sure you bag them up. One of them net hammocks, I've never used it to lie in. It's certainly not that comfortable, and I can set it up on these rings like a trap, or as I intend, a throw net. Got you. This is really, really handy. just a pouch. It's separated on the zip all the way round and has a compartment here on the front. I think this is the old style admin pouch. This is how they used to look. I have about 10 copper snares, rabbiting, squirreling again. Just set them, forget them. Undo the zip. All the way around, open it out. And this side here, fishing kit. This is really basic. If I had better skills for fishing, that would be my mindset for my bug out. I'd have better fishing kit. You have to adapt your skills. Unfortunately, that is a level of my fishing skills. It would be a worm on a hook, on some line, and cross your fingers for me. It's a skill I need to improve. I've also bought a couple of these automatic fishing lines. Again, set it, forget it. It just sets the hook for me on a reel, which is fully automatic, spring loaded on a trigger hair. These are called yo-yo reels. I have 2 of them as well. So I'm going to improve my chances on a skill that I don't really have. And it's always good to not just brush up on skills you have, but really you need to completely learn new skills, and fishing is just one of them skills that needs learning from me. Other side here is my house-made kit, and I also have Spectra line, fishing line, and it's really thin and makes for a great house-made thread. If I rip any bit of kit, in here are needles, sewing needles, and they're not just any sewing needles. These needles are self-threading needles. Works a bit like a carabiner, the snap gate on the carabiner. When you put your string in, it works exactly the same as that, and you just push the thread in from the top and it'll just thread your needle for you. And I've also tried needle threaders and things like that. Not keen. It's just another bit of gadget to go wrong. And on the front there, that's called a fib. It's a big needle that we use for paracord. If you want to sew with paracord to make traps or things like that, and we'll come back to making paracord weapons on another episode. But don't underestimate your house-made kit, for God's sake. Make sure it's substantial. Don't be reliant on these packs of sewing kits that you can get for a couple of quid. I've tried. They're garbage. So this webbing is all about covering all my bases. If there's an eventuality I can perceive, then I need to accommodate and address that eventuality with one of the pouches. The last pouch, I've just got some rations in. It's not what I'm going to end up putting in it. I think a water filter and things like that would be better served for me than just a few rations. A rectangular mess tin, locking handles, absolute garbage, the tins. But on the inside, at least I have 1 day of rations. Now, it's not a 24-hour ration pack, it's just 3 of the rations from it. A lunch, a breakfast, an evening meal. But I also have a hexi burner. So this isn't going to be the final loadout. This is a shoulder yoke. And on the back here, you could actually house a water bladder. I used to have a water bladder on this. I may even put it back on. and I have my water bladder attached to my Bergen anyway, but I should really have a reserve of water separated from the Bergen to the webbing. Shoulder yoke, mesh panel. This one here doesn't have the QR clips to attach a hydration pack, but it does have plenty of webbing. Simply implement the fitting of a hydration bladder on the back there, just using carabiners. I've taken my ammo pouches off this rig, and I've put other pouches on that are more dedicated for my own requirements. It's a PLCE, personal load carry equipment, and the emphasis again being on the P in PLCE. It'll be personal to you. Only put what you want on yours. There are plenty of manufacturers. If you want to upgrade your webbing, you can go very, very expensive and have one made for you. UK prices on Dragon supplies are around £200 to £300 for about 4 utility pouches, 2 double ammos and a yoke. It's very expensive, I thought. Using the old Osprey surplus is just as adequate. These are not young pouches, and webbing set is quite old. Now I could reposition where I want each pouch. I used to have 4 utility and 2 double ammo. I don't anymore, I have it like this. In the Bergen I have the insulation, the food, the water, and pretty much I keep it as light as I can. On the Bergen, 2 pouches. I've taken one of the pouches off and put a hydration bladder on. On the other pouch I've filled up full, and I mean to the top, with ration packs. I should have at least, I should imagine, 8-9 days supply of food. I've also put in a small stove. Now that will take me the first couple of days, and then the fuel will have been exhausted. Thereafter I get my entrenchment tool out, I dig myself a Dakota pit, and I'll be cooking my food with natural tinders thereafter in a very stealth manner. So that is my look at the surplus webbing in DPM. Now I have other webbing. I have a camping webbing, which is completely different to this. It is just for stealth camping. It means to carry some of the heavier kit, the water, the food, the stove, and pretty much that's it. Again, all my shelter is in the pack, a very different pack for wild camping, stealth camping. I also have the 58, the 90 and the 95 webbing that you've seen here, and I'll be putting all the webbings in one place at the same time in a different video. If you're on a budget, go around the carboot, flea markets, things like that, and look out for this kind of kit. I have only put on my webbing what I think I need for quite a wide variety of circumstance, and I would rather have it than not have it at all. So until next time, you take good care of yourself, build yourself up a webbing, and I will see you out there. Happy trails.